I'm going to now describe to you a trick that has been played on you, which has completely robbed you of your divinity. Now, I have said in the past, I've asked the question, do you want to become a god? Now, what do I really mean by that? Most people, whenever they're asked this question, do you want to become a god, they think in terms of New Age personal manifestation. Like, oh yeah, I can become a god because I can think really hard about getting a new car, and this is me expressing my divinity. But when I say, do you want to become a god, I'm saying this in terms of radical cosmological efficacy. Meaning that if you become a god, you have command over the entire structure of the cosmos. It's in your hands. Now here's where the trick is played. Kabbalistic magicians have been in control of global magical culture for thousands of years. Now, when I say Kabbalistic magicians, I'm speaking in terms of perennialism. So there was an Abrahamic magical tradition prior to the formal development of Kabbalah that is the same basic tradition. But the principal trick that is played is that monotheism, in the form of Orthodox Judaism or Christianity, Islam, it doesn't matter. Monotheism is sold to the masses in order to disarm them, to make them impotent, because this is a magical war that is conducted. And in that war, if you can rob your enemy magicians of a realization of their personal divinity, you can make them into your slave. You can possess them. Now, the high-level Kabbalistic magicians are all polytheists. They believe in many divinities, and they believe in their own divinity. Every truly effective magician assumes his own divinity. He takes command over the cosmological design. Okay? Now, if you're operating on a principle of externalized divinity, which is the foundation of the monotheistic understanding of magic, you're saying God is outside of me, and it is the will of God that flows through me and all other things that determines reality. Now, here's what's really funny about this. Even if you are not religious, let's say you're an atheist, you don't believe in all of that silly bullshit in Christianity and Judaism and Islam or any of these other religious traditions, you don't believe in polytheistic religion either, especially not polytheistic religion, you still are externalizing the principle of divinity to something that we call nature. So instead of the laws of God defining your reality, you say it's the laws of nature that define reality. And Nietzsche recognized this problem as the problem of nihilism after the death of God. So, God is dead, we have killed him, what do we do now? Nietzsche proposed a radical pagan solution, which is to assume your own divinity. That is what it means to become the Superman, to become the Ubermensch. And Nietzsche was radically pagan. He realized that the pagan divinities offer a gateway to realize your own divinity through them. That is the goal. This is what the Kabbalistic magicians do. They work with specific demons to realize personal divinity, but they sell slave morality to you. They tell you to externalize your divinity, either in the form of God the Father, who commands all things, or in the form of nature, whatever the fuck that is. Modern science is entirely Abrahamic. It is based upon a foundation in rational philosophy extending from Abrahamic religion. So this is why modern secular culture tends to express the same slave morality that you would find in Christianity. You have been sold that condition to render you impotent. Now, what is the solution to this? The solution is the radical assumption of personal divinity, which you find in Tantric Yoga in the Aryan tradition. So how do you do this? Well, first you say, I am God, and the entire cosmic design is within my command. Well, then you immediately run into a problem. Can you levitate this mug? If I stare at this mug and I try and levitate this mug, I should be able to do that, right? If I am God. But here's the thing. The ability to manipulate conditions is the activation of the extension of your consciousness into that thing. So this is very easy for a monotheistic God because everything is part of the body of that God. So to levitate that mug for a monotheistic God would be like manipulating your pinky finger. And within magic, what we do is we try to extend our consciousness into other things to be able to manipulate those conditions. And we learn how to do this. But we have to have an assumption of our personal divinity before we can even get started in that process. And if you have fallen for the trick of Abrahamic magic and modern secularism extending from Abrahamic magic, you can't even get started. So I'm breaking you free of that right now. I'm saying what I want you to do, if you want to practice magic seriously and not just be a thrall, is I want you to assume your personal divinity right now. As soon as you assume your personal divinity, you have to accept karma. So why can't I make this mug levitate on command right now with my mind? Well, it's because I'm operating now from a condition of polytheism. So that means that I am a god, but so is this mug and everything behind me and all of the people that I meet. They are all expressing their will as well. I accept this condition of polytheism. Why would I accept this condition of polytheism? Because it's not much fun being a monotheistic God. Yes, I might have command over all creation, but I'm just jerking myself off the entire time. The only thing I can manipulate, the only condition that I can manipulate, the only thing that I can change, the only thing that I can interact with is myself. So there's no point in that. In fact, this leads to an absolute loss of meaning, a void. If you extend yourself too far, you lose yourself. This is in fact the process of Dakshinashara in the right-hand path. It's the process of becoming a monotheistic God, where you return to the monistic point. Or maybe not return, but you advance to the monistic point, you access it. Now you realize very quickly that there's not much going on there. And so you begin to accept the divinity of other things. I am accepting the divinity of this cup, which means that there is some aspect of will to the continued existence of this cup and everything behind me and all the people that I meet. So how do I express my will over this shared divinity? Basically, within a polytheistic world, everything that you see that we call reality is a group project. It's individual divinities expressing their will, which creates the reality around us. Now, the closer you get to a monotheistic condition, the more that you can control the things around you. But you have to be careful with what you control, because manipulation of conditions can become very alienating. If you're unwilling to share power or make space for other divinities, then you will eventually reach that point of a total collapse of meaning and entering into a void state. So it's a game. Magic is a game of various magicians trying to assert their position. And it's very easy to see how you can assert your power in a physical sense. Like, I can pick up this cup. This is a vulgar display of power. In the Kali Yuga, materiality is the primary expression of consciousness, so it's easy for me to express my will by simply picking up this cup. The closer you get to the spirit at the Sahasrara, because this is a Muladhara action, the root, the closer you get to the spirit, the harder it is to express your power. So, a vulgar display of power would be a man picking up a rifle, carrying it into a battlefield, bayoneting the enemy. A more sophisticated display of power would be to sit in your study and command an entire army of men to march onto a battlefield and express your will through their physical bodies. This is a magical operation. This is the power of the mind over the material. An even greater magical operation would be to show divinity to the man who is sitting in the room, commanding those legions, to give him spiritual meaning and a connection to the gods, which colors his expression of violence and war. Now, those Kabbalistic magicians are very good at this. They're very good at monopolizing this process and keeping you from having any access to it. They'll pretend to be monotheists. They'll pretend to be submissive to the will of God. But in secret, they are practicing polytheism, and they're working with all mode of angels and demons. Got to be careful about that. And they'll set traps for you as well. Because unless you're born into that lineage, you are not part of the club. So next time you read a magic book that's full of goetic sigils, and next time you think about working with Solomonic magic or any of these Abrahamic or Kabbalistic magical traditions, just know that your attention is being rerouted to a magical tradition that you do not have command over. So if you really want power and you haven't been born into those traditions, you haven't been initiated into those bloodlines, seek power in alternative magical systems, such as Arianism, Tantric Yoga, where we encourage the development of your own divinity. We say, do you want to become a god? You want to become a god? Okay. Do you want to become a Buddha? Do you want to be a Bodhisattva expressing bodhicitta? Okay. Do it. You do not have to be a blood relative of me. I'm giving you access to that tradition right now in this talk. You can do it right now. You can assume your personal divinity, and you can have a realization of the Atman. As soon as you have a realization of that Atman and you realize that the cosmos is of your design and that your expression of karma is your own, then you can break free from those traps that have been set for you. But until then, you are impotent. You are rendered impotent in the magical world by magicians who have sold you slave morality and have robbed you of your personal divinity. So I encourage you right now to shrug that off and start expressing your own will to power.